Hello, friends. I'm coming to you from San Antonio, Texas today, which is not where I normally am. I'm attending the Texas Music Educators Association conference. So this is a conference within a conference for me right now. Never done that before. And here we are. I have the absolute honor and privilege of talking with Miss Ailyn Pérez today. And I want to tell you just a little bit about her. There she is. Hi, Ailyn. We're so glad you're here. Ailyn is an American soprano, and she's known for so many things, most especially the way that she really connects with characters. She has an enormous bio, and which I thought might be weird for her if I read the whole thing. So sure. So I'm just going to give you the highlights, but Ailyn sings at the Met, San Francisco Opera, Teatro alla Scala, Covent Garden, Dallas Opera, Santa Fe, Deutsche Opera Berlin, Washington National. I could go on and on. She sings some of my favorite soprano characters with guts and with glory: Violetta, Liu, Thais, Mimi, Musetta, Juliet, Countess Almaviva, Marguerite. I could just go on and on. It's so special for us to have her here. Ailyn, welcome to the conference.
Emily, thank you so much. And Ray, that was an incredible introduction. I'm so glad to be in this room with all of you who love theater and love opera and artists. So I'm eager. So fire away.
Awesome. Well, Ailyn, we have a little tradition in Met Opera Education where anytime we interview someone, we have them start with a 30-second life story. So I'm going to set a timer on my watch here, and you've got 30 seconds to tell us your whole life story. Ready?
Okay, ready?
Go.
Born to immigrant parents, didn't speak English, raised in the United States, felt outcast, found music, found my language for the soul and my expression, came to find out that opera had it all: production, travel, language, storytelling, and I could involve my whole persona. And that's why I'm here in the opera world. And I think that's the fastest it's ever happened. So there you go.
Listen, you had 4 seconds to spare. Ailyn, very well done.
Now I've fallen in love and it's all going to change.
Yeah, woo! We're going to get to that because that's my favorite thing that I want to hear about. But one of the things that I love about the 30-second life story that you just gave is that you led with the fact that you are a child of immigrant parents. And I love that you've been so forthright about that and bringing that into the conversation, especially in a place like Texas, where 80% of my students are Spanish speaking, and so many of them are children of immigrant parents. And it is so special for them to get to see someone like you. What gave you the bravery, the courage to decide to say right out front, hey, this is an important part of me, and I want to be forthright about it?
I think it's it's a noticeable factor in the way I relate to people, the way I connect to people, the way I enter a room. I tend to feel very close very quickly, and it's just a cultural thing. But I think also for it's perhaps the immediacy, the urgency of wanting to connect that it's in play in all areas of my life, but especially when I'm walking and traveling into a room full of new artists or maybe older friends and a new city. And so it's a big part of me, and one that, while I'm in the United States, is bumped up to another level. I would say I'm more conscientious about that when I'm here in the States. And I think it's because of the language. So I find my fullest expression of myself in Spanish, but of course I speak other languages. And then I notice how much more inclusive, and music is that language as well. You know, how much more comfort you can build with others through art, through cultural exchange, through conversation. So I think that that's why I lead with that, because it's what I'm a communicator and a storyteller, and also a human being, you know, just trying to figure all this out as well and live a full life. So I think I wear it, and it's a big part of me. You know, a lot of my family, we didn't grow up with the opera, so I think that's also another main reason I bring it up, because I always start there. I always assume not many people know the stories, because I myself don't know all the stories of all great literature or all of history, right? Or all of my own repertoire that I may even, be singing new roles, and I'm still learning the story behind it. And so I come into the room with uh, that narrative, I think,
I love
to
it.
then extend a welcome, like, hey, let's all, like, I don't know it all either. Let's figure it out together.
I love that. And that, that's one of the things we're doing in education now. I think we're very aware, especially post-COVID, is that, education is about us helping teach children music or theater or whatever it is that our specialty is, but it's about helping raise good humans. And so
Yes.
I always appreciate when we get to speak to someone of your caliber who's an incredible artist and is willing to be a human first when they enter the conversation. I think that's gracious of you and pretty brave too, because I know that can be hard. Talk to me a little bit about what your experience was as a high school student or a middle school student. We've got educators, of all age groups here. Talk to us about that. How did you become who you are?
One of the core reasons, the core people, so I'm very family oriented and community oriented. So um, the I had in my life a very blessed fortune that the suburb we moved out of Chicago, we moved into the suburb, Elk Grove Village, Illinois. That's where I'm raised. They had a music program already set up in the public schools. So from the time I moved, I was 6 years old and a little awkward. And everything looked really different. And having a music class, I remember, I'm bringing this up because having music education and access to music classes really doesn't exist everywhere. And so I love to advocate for that and to, encourage. I mean, I'm preaching to the chorus here, right? And to all the people who are affected in such a positive way, because it doesn't mean we're all going to be professionals. It means that we're all going to participate and learn a new skill set and grow. So I had a really great music education in grammar school. Then in junior high, we had the most entertaining, most vivacious, most enthusiastic, most compelling, also very strict music band director, Mr. John Janusek. He's passed away, but he built such a great program, playing classics, going to band competitions, and he led in a way that showed me as a flutist that when I get first chair, it's my responsibility to lead my section. So I would say that was like age 11, 12, 13. I'm taking initiative to obviously learn the music, and then it's all the joy and fun to get my, section to rise and also test better, perform better. And it was just a social, I found my place. I made friends with the other people here. He would write trios, like Aladdin had come out at the time, and he wrote a musical arrangement for a flute, clarinet, and an oboe to play a trio of the theme songs from Aladdin. I mean, I feel like that was a big gift that, I mean, not even in the best ideal situations of having a great music educator, then he just went beyond, he went beyond. We even played Dixieland Jazz Band. He wrote a sextet for all saxophones, every one of them, so up to, from alto sax to bari sax, of the Star Wars theme,
Yeah.
that cantina thing. I might be singing the wrong theme, but he wrote, so that music educator in my life from 10 to 13 years old, and then going into high school and realizing, okay, I want to make more friends. What else is there? Oh, there's chorus. Oh, there's musical theater. So having these educators there, the programs there, the musicals already in place and funded, right? If I wanted to participate, I had to take some voice lessons. So when I took a voice lesson, it just so happened that my teacher was a Helden tenor who sang Wagner, who loved to teach, and gave me really a great foundation of vocal technique for opera. And he heard in me, he's like, oh, you understand this music? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, Italian is pretty close to Spanish. And then he's like, oh, well, you understand you're having an emotional connection. And I could sight read. I didn't even know sight reading was a thing, because I could just see the pitch and kind of hear it where it would be in my flute, and then that would be what I would sing. So all those, I would say, over those years, so from age I would say age 9 and 10 through 13, it's just instruments. And then by high school time, I was still playing in the orchestra, still in band, and I did every theater thing I could do. And being in the choir was part of it. And then I would say just having that availability gave so much experience. And because the music program in high school had one of the ways that um, they really built the program on community service. So in the wintertime, during the holiday season, we would learn a Jewish traditional song, a Spanish song, anything that would reach to our community and to speak to their traditions through music. We would learn songs like that and perform it every year at community centers, and would tour. We would visit the grammar schools and perform for them. So it was a program that was very well constructed. I actually haven't been, obviously my educators have either passed away or retired. And I don't know if the program still exists in that same way, but I would say that was a really, that was an impact, because at age, when I look back on it now, from age 13 to 16, 17, you're in the community, you have to have a responsibility. Someone has to drive, someone has to know directions. So you have to know your music. You definitely have to perform. You have to stay healthy because you're a part of a group and you're performing for people. And then you get also school credit for it. So that was a big experience. I would say all of that impacted, it shaped who I am. It shaped the people I went to school with. And it was also a very treasured experience, like a field trip, except it would happen a field trip like every other day for about 3 weeks, which is exciting.
Absolutely. It's so good to hear from someone, who's become a professional musician for a living, that works, that it does make a difference, because, music educators, we're in the trenches day in and day out, filling out the paperwork and buying the uniforms and tuning the pianos, and so it's so lovely to hear that it works.
It really works. And then also because our parents were involved. If our parents couldn't be involved, we were meeting parents who were involved, and there was just like a shepherding mentality of the community, where it was a volunteer system. People who obviously, everyone's parents have different work schedules, but just to know that adults were there and being supportive. And also I remember some band members that were also playing football, so playing marching band but in football season, and he'd leave the field, change into his marching band out uniform, and march the halftime show. And I thought, I remember, those are really, it does I guess memories that make me, because I've gone in so diehard into music, that remind me that you could be any level of it. Again, from a participant, you're there, you're a part of the biggest group. It doesn't, you don't have to be first chair to feel the joy of making music. You could be a beginner, you could start, your senior year, and someone will have your back. It's just the way it goes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you still consider yourself an instrumentalist, or did that, shift as you really started singing heavily?
Yes, I consider myself a musician. So yes, actually, so I was in New York, and one of the ways I really relax is to play the flute. And I usually carry my flute with me to learn new music or just do something totally different. And one of the principal musicians from the Met Orchestra heard that. And I asked him, I was like, oh, do you know where I could rent a flute? And he's like, stop, I have one. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm really an amateur. Like, I haven't played in years. It's just for, it's just my therapy. And then he's like, oh yeah, sure, I have it. And I'm like, no, no, no. He gave me, it's a silver flute, which is already very shishi, and it's open hold, and it's already, again, very shishi. And then he's like, oh, but let me give you my gold head joint. I'm like, And then he invited me to play Mozart duets, and we read through them, and it was like you just pick up where you leave off. And of course, the things that are awkward, but I think it's like riding a bicycle. You can always go back, and you got a woodshed. You got it.
Yeah.
I know, you know. But it's funny because now as a singer, I think in keys, what keys I'm in, where I'm going, where I don't think I had that understanding. Of course, at like at my younger age, I don't think I got that. I think I understood melody, but I wasn't thinking harmonically yet. So yeah, so I still consider myself an instrumentalist, but I would say musician because I hear, well, I guess that's part the musician side of the brain, and then there's the theatrical part, right? So like the acting and the timing, and it's very physical. Opera is everything. So
Sure
yeah,
is. Oh, that's
even
beautiful.
if I say musician, it's hard to that almost makes it like a certain non-animated expression, but it is.
Mhm.
So it's interesting.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that answer. Okay, I'm going to, so I teach in Fort Worth, as we mentioned earlier, and I have a whole bunch of really great students who were so excited to ask you some questions.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm going to show you here. I made a very dorky PowerPoint, as I am known to do. So
Oh, I wish I could make those.
I just live by them. So I've got my pictures here of my students, and they are standing in front of their favorite headshot of yours.
Oh,
So our first question is from Melissa, and she says, "At what age did you realize you wanted to be an opera singer?"
so Melissa, my aunt came to I have a very supportive family, and every year we would have concerts in the springtime and the wintertime. And she was so emotional after I was in my junior year, and I sang an aria, and she's like, "You need to sing. This is what you need to do." So I don't think I understood what that being an opera singer meant at all. I didn't know an opera singer. My teacher taught. He used to be an opera singer, but he was no longer traveling. So even the people in the business, we didn't really know anyone. Um, it turned out that his best friend, who was my choir director, his wife babysat Renee Fleming. Can you believe it? So anyway, the point is that it was very early. I would say like I was 15, 16 years old. And it's, when you're taking your ACTs and SATs and you're waiting your results, because then you need to start applying for or thinking about schools, thinking about your major. I wanted to be a heart surgeon, and my sociology teacher. So between my aunt crying and then my sociology teacher asking me, "Oh, you want to help heal people?" When I answered that I want to be a heart surgeon, I was ashamed because I was thinking about the money. But I hadn't asked myself, "Hey, do I have a gift in math and science? Like, where are my gifts?" And so I looked at my activity and my record, my academic record and my test scores, and I realized, you know what? I probably am graduated with the most credits in the fine arts ever. And clearly that's where I'm gifted. And so let me try for scholarships. And then step by step, I realized that music could open the door to have a higher education. So I went to IU, which is in Bloomington, and on scholarship. And I met Martina Arroyo. And there she told me, don't sing opera. She said, learn art song and learn languages. So I had 4 years of college really still not knowing, like, am I going to do this or not, or what is this? So it's very it was I would say not as clear to me as I would hope, but there was always that drive to want to be on the stage singing a main role, which led me to then audition for more schools with different tuition-free programs, which led me to the Academy of Vocal Arts in Philadelphia, AVA, where I finally got real performance opportunities in operatic roles. So by then, I was already 21, 22 to 26 years old. Huh? That's up there. And I remember my parents were very concerned, like, what are you doing with all this education? And most people would be doctors right now or married with children and all these things. So not that it's not all possible. It is possible. It's just different. I'm just sharing you my path. And it wasn't that obvious. But then slowly, just someone would hear me and I would get an invitation. I'd have small contracts, and then one thing led to another. And then you get really into the career and you still have to decide, like, I'm going to be gone from family events. I'm missing some holidays because holidays are big work days. So becoming an opera singer kept redefining itself every year, every time I was delving more and more into it up until now. And now I'm about to be, what am I going to be? Maybe 44 this year. So it's it's still mysterious, but it's, a lot of it's so great that I've met wonderful people who've come into opera even later in life or younger in life and very accomplished, or just, had a little quiet time and then surged onto the scene. So I have a lot of friends that I look to and am inspired by. And so I think that was a third element, I would say. So my aunt recognizing my talent, my sociology teacher questioning my intentions and my talents and gifts. And then the third thing is that there was a drive there that was present, that kind of my curiosity and my imagination and what I was desiring and what I was trying to find what gift could I share with the world that really helps somehow, some way, in the biggest way possible. And that's what I found in performing.
You found it. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
That was beautiful. Here's another question. This is my sweet Andrea. And she says, how did your parents react when you first told them you wanted to be an opera singer? Were they concerned that you'd be rejected by the industry because of your ethnicity?
Oh, they didn't know. They didn't even, I don't really know. I think their primary concern was my well-being. And for me to have gone out of state for school was already a big step. So the expectation was I was going to receive my certifications and then go back home. And then I don't even know what would be next. I think my parents had opened a taqueria at that time. So I was thinking to work in a taqueria. But my mom was always more adamant about education. And so I think between the expect I think the primary concern is how am I going to earn a living and will I be safe? As far as industry concerns, they didn't have an understanding, and I didn't either, except for how tricky it is to be a young woman and needing to, everything you need, from audition apparel to even paying for coachings. I mean, I went to a scholarship with tuition-free institution, so I had coachings for those 4 years that I was in Philadelphia. Once you graduate, it's like $60 an hour, up to sometimes $200 an hour if you go to a specialist. So I don't think that they knew the industry side, and they've been learning as I've been learning. So I would say the primary concern for your parents is always, loving you. And I think that the primary concern also for you being in industry, or me, was to be courageous and to step more out of faith than fear. So while yes, there is a visual that tells you it's not equalized, or also I think because art is also so abstract, um if I were to continue to, and I struggle with this, if I continue to focus on what could be holding me back that's outside of my power, I'm empowering the fear, or I'm not empowering myself. So I have to choose to where I want to focus on. So yes, there may be fewer opportunities. Number one, just being a woman, there are fewer opportunities because you're already in an industry with many more women. So the men actually, the industry needs a lot more men. We have a lot of women in the industry. So already it's the playing field is already a little saturated there in the market. But I don't think I focused on that. I definitely focused on, what do I love to sing? Who am I taught, acting, and just I focused on that. I tried not to dissect the things that I can't control. I don't know who a casting director is, and now I know who people are, but I can't, there's even so much more to even beyond those qualifications. There could be a reason, like, which I've learned later in life, like a manager has star people, let's say two big famous people, but they have a whole roster of like 60 to 80 people who are also talented. But anyway, so you just don't know like how all the theaters are casting. It could be because of the manager, it could be because of the people that they want to invite, but then it, we don't know. That's really outside of my knowing ever. So I just appreciate while I do advocate, I also tell my young friends who are leaders now, don't forget, like, but they're already on board with all of all of the forward movement to really have our theater performers represent visually and embody the community from where they come from and their heritage, and feel welcome. So that's a part of the work, but I tried to also stay focused on the art, which has a lot of work to do. Has a lot of work. So
That is a lot of work. Okay, we are going to play a quick game with you. Are you up for
okay.
a little game?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for being such a good sport. So so many of our children are into this game on TikTok called Kiss, Marry, Kill, where you are given 3 different versions of things and you have to choose which one you would kiss, which you would marry, and which one you would kill. And
Okay,
so,
well, Solomon is with me, so
oh,
he's
yay!
gotta I gotta like I'm playing a game called Kiss, Marry, Kill. It's a
He's
game. So
here's a picture of Solomon here. Well, since we're speaking about him,
Mary.
here he is proposing to you on stage.
Yeah,
I had to add that in at the end of the PowerPoint because it was
thank
just such
you.
a special
Yeah.
moment and so exciting for that to happen on stage. So hello, Solomon. Thank you for being with us. Okay, so here we go for Kiss, Marry, Kill. So we're going to start with 3 costumes here.
Oh,
3
great.
entirely different characters. And I'd love to know which of the 3 of these you'd kiss, marry, or kill.
Oh my goodness. I would never kill any of the women I play, but the poor
Okay,
men
that's good
do.
to know. That's a good
So
start.
so I would I would marry Thais. I would kill Manon, and I would what is it? Kiss. I would kiss
Kiss,
Desdemona.
marry, kill.
Yeah.
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 Good call. What of
Yeah.
these 3 costumes that we're looking at here, you've gotten to wear so many incredible costumes. Of the costumes we're looking at here, which was the most comfortable for you to move around in on stage?
I think that's on stage. Well, the Manon one, I have to look up the costume designer. I don't recall offhand, but Manon is the 5-act opera, and she becomes 5 people in that show. She starts off very like Audrey Hepburn, schoolgirl, like Sabrina-ish, and then evolves to Anna Magnani by the end. And there's like the Act 4 of Sense of Peace. I'm sorry, Act 3, Part 2 of Sense of Peace is very much like a Sophia Loren red gown. Yeah, I would definitely kill to have all of Manon's outfits. That's for sure. Yeah, that's what I would want to run away with.
Sounds good to me. Okay, here's another one. Now we're just talking hats here. Which
Oh,
hat would you kiss? What kill? What marry?
okay, kill the Falstaff hat. That was just crazy.
Okay, good. I figured that was probably gonna be it.
Yeah. I would kiss, of course, Blanche. I would kiss her on the forehead with that cute little thing, and definitely marry Tosca's hat. That's the one.
It's
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous. I love it.
Beautiful.
I know, sometimes when you're singing in hats, it can affect your ears in some ways.
Yes. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. There was I just did a Don Carlo where the hat designer it was somehow the brim was more their air could get through it, so the singing with it was easy. It was great. And it was a gorgeous hat. I'll text it to you.
Well done, designers. Okay, now we've got sets here. The very famous Bohème set, Carmen, and then is this Giovanni here on the left, maybe?
Yes, Don Giovanni. I love that Casper Holton production. The set design is S. Devlin, and S. Devlin is renowned for set designs for like Beyonce, Kanye, like big moving set designs that illuminate and have graphics. She was the big designer behind all those shows, and so she collaborated with Casper, the director. And in this Don Giovanni, what I learned from that was everyone is trapped in this house. They also got rid of the postlude, which kind of makes a little bit the end of the show a little more lighthearted. But what was
Yeah.
devastating is that in a way, by belonging to the house, we all were a little bit slimy Don Giovanni. And I thought that it created another dimension of role interpretation, where I think, especially for Donna Anna, you can interpret her. Is she lying about what's happened to her, or is she a part of it, or can it be both? And I definitely played it as both, which I just found so much fun and so thrilling. And poor Don Ottavio, but then Ottavio takes his choice and actually leaves me. So
Yeah.
it's great. I think that this production empowered everyone's narrative in a more realistic way, as opposed to more toward the archetype.
I love that. So would you marry that set?
Oh, I can't say that. I think I would marry Bohème because it's Bohème, and Don Giovanni just
It's
holds
Moab.
too
Yeah.
much craziness. Yeah. So I would kiss the Don Giovanni, and then the bottom set, I don't know what it is, but
Oh,
I
it's
could kill it.
Carmen. It's
Oh,
Carmen.
I'd kill it.
She
Yeah,
did
we
it.
could kill it. We could kill it. I
Okay,
like
good. Now,
glittery things.
these are all the Countess. 3 different versions of the Countess.
Yes.
Kiss, marry, kill. Uh-oh. I
Sorry.
think you
I
muted. There you are.
sorry.
No worries. So we've got some beautiful costuming here. Oh, hold on. You
Yeah,
are
got
muted.
it.
There you go. Thank
I
you.
got it. I would, oh gosh, I think I would kill the first one. I would kiss the second one. I would marry the third, because that captain just gave me all like J-Lo vibes. It was fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
it looks comfy too to like move
and
around.
yeah, and it was like, then the next out, it was like really Emilio Pucci style, with like big 70s glasses and like chunky mule heels and like a big hat. So yeah, I'd marry that one.
How fabulous. Okay, this is our last one here. Death scene. All 3 of these beautiful humans have death scenes. Kiss, marry, kill their death scenes.
Well, I'll tell you what, Blanche is the one I'm marrying, because I've never had a death scene or a role like her in my life. And I don't know that I ever will again, because of the cast. So something that happens in New York is, one of the most exciting reasons, obviously, to be in New York is to be in New York. But the Metropolitan Opera, because it's such an illustrious cultural theater, with also a very big budget, they can invite, everyone wants to perform there. So they invited this cast of heroes, of my personal heroes of women who I would never have the privilege to sing with, because we just don't sing the repertoire at all that would be together. So, Christine Goerke, who's known for Wagnerian or Strauss roles, we would never be in an opera together except for this Dialogues of the Carmelites. And Sabine de Vielle, who sang Constance, is known for Lakme, very high French coloratura, very unique type of voice that I would never have a duet with her in other repertoire. So, and Jamie Barton, Jamie and I will sing together more, but Alice Coote, I would have sung Gretel to her Hansel, but she retired Hansel many years ago, and in her operas, we wouldn't really cross paths again. So that's why I want to marry Blanche. And also a guillotine death, the way it happens for Blanche, is one of the most jarring, but also the joyous. It's suddenly she just becomes joyous, whereas Violetta, I remember when I first played her, I was like, what do you mean it takes a whole act to die? I thought I'm dying. How am I like almost, rebirthing it? I thought that was very funny for, to learn. And also what I didn't know is that in the intermissions or anytime you're off stage, it doesn't mean you have a break. You're actually just preparing for your next scene or doing a costume change, or it's very little downtime backstage. So I didn't know that, until I did roles. And so I would, of course, kiss Mimi. I'd kill Traviata. Yeah.
That's fair. She's gonna die anyway. Might as well just kill her
Yeah.
first, huh?
Yeah. I'll share with you this. Mimi's death is so beautiful because she's so tranquil and she's exactly where she wants to be. And it's a beautiful death scene in that the composer just has her it's not dramatic at all, you know, where Violetta's death is very dramatic. Verdi writes her um really struggling against death herself, struggling against the pain, disillusionment. She sings about it. She then sees her beloved, thinks like, says her goodbyes, thinks it's over, and suddenly has a surge and then dies. So it's like a lot of whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why.
That is fabulous. Thank you for humoring me with that game. And I think we are just about out of time. Eileen, we're so thankful to you for joining us today. It's really
Oh,
been
it
a
was such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure. And I just want to say a final thanks to you, wonderful educators, to Ray and Emily. Thank you for having me. But to you, students out there, I'm very active on Instagram and social media. So if you ever have more questions about things, just shoot me or let Emily know. They know how to reach me. And I would love to know if you're at the theater or if you have questions. Any more questions, just please reach out. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all.
thank you, Eileen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.